Ireland, one of Europe's most green and mysterious islands. Everyone who visits Ireland, this isolated island in the Atlantic Ocean, is given a very warm welcome. It's an ancient and colourful land. Stone monuments of the past indicate its dramatic history. And above all, there is the splendour of Ireland's natural landscape. Here, there are the remains of several ancient cultures that date from the Ice Age to early Christian times, as well as wild coasts and remote rivers, plus hectic city life. Dublin is the capital of the Irish Republic, a city of musicians, poets and dreamers. Also, though, a financial centre. Dublin was founded by the Vikings within a wonderful valley, where the River Liffey flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Trinity College is Ireland's oldest and most venerable university. It was founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I. Merrion Square consists of a number of fine old buildings and the famous Dublin doors, impressive reminders of the golden 18th century. St Patrick Cathedral is the largest church in Ireland. At 93 metres long, it's the longest medieval church in Ireland. Legend has it that St Patrick baptised the first Christians here. Today, Christ Church Cathedral is also part of the Church of Ireland. It was founded in 1038 by Dunan, the first Bishop of Dublin. Kilmainham Jail is a national monument dedicated to Ireland's dramatic past, the so-called Freedom Fighters' Prison. The Kilmainham district marks the beginning of the Grand Canal that travels around the south of Dublin in a semicircle. A fine example of the engineering skills of the 18th century. Bursting with pubs and music, this most hospitable city is a wonderful combination of lively city life and infectious Irish blarney. Southwest of Dublin is Kildare, the heart of Ireland's horse racing. In 1902, the Irish national stud Tully House was founded here. Rich and eccentric Scottish brewery heir, Colonel William Hall Walker, had the idea of creating a unique horse breeding scheme that would be based upon astrological calculation. The fact that the Colonel became the most famous horse breeder in Europe was perhaps due to astrology. And his success was indisputable. His horses won all of Ireland's classic races. He eventually gifted the stud to the British Crown, and it became a possession of the Irish government. The Wicklow Mountains are a natural paradise of mountains, swamps and lakes, beautiful valleys and a fascinating mountain landscape to the south of Dublin. Romantic roads lead through the mountains. They were laid by the British to help them hunt for rebels that hid in the mountains. The climate of this remote region is influenced by the Gulf Stream, never too cold and always humid, with romantic heathland, dreamy forests and meadows that shine light green, and pastures with grazing sheep. In the lower regions, milk cows and large herds of sheep graze in the lush green meadows that flourish due to the good climate. Glendalough, the Valley of Two Lakes, is an old Irish monastery district, full of mystic atmosphere and fascinating charm. In around 570 AD, Holy Kevin appeared in this valley and founded a hermitage. It later became the monastery town of Glendalough. What was tantamount to a university town of the early Middle Ages was established, and around 3,000 monks, scholars and students lived here. The monastery town was destroyed by British troops, but the ruins are still impressive and evocative of a moving past. Wicklow is the capital of the province of the same name, and is also the region's centre of tourism. An amicable small town that is proud of its famous sons. The old prison has been restored and is now a popular visitor attraction. It gives a good insight into the hardships of prison life. As the rebellion against the British failed, in spite of the help of French troops, most of the prisoners were transported to Australia and what were known as hell ships. However, the subsequent reform of the prison is also on display, an individual cell for each prisoner with sitting rooms, kitchen, chapel and washrooms. In the Irish National Heritage Park, replicas of Ireland's cultural heritage have been lovingly constructed within a peaceful swamp area. Around 600 BC, numerous Celtic tribes conquered the country. Ring fortresses were typical residences of both the nobility and wealthy farmers. From the 5th century AD, the country was introduced to Christianity by Holy Patrick, a fact highlighted by a replica of an early Christian monastery complex. Then savage Viking tribes from Denmark invaded, and later the Normans conquered a large part of the island. Wexford is situated in the southeast of the island, a busy provincial town at the mouth of the Slaney. Founded by the Vikings, the Normans later transformed it into a flourishing centre of trade. The last remaining tower of the former fortification complex indicates how powerful this city once was. Close to the tower are the ruins of Cistercian Abbey. A noblewoman founded this abbey in honour of her husband, whom she thought had perished in the Crusades. But some years later he returned and discovered that his wife had committed herself to ecclesiastical vows. Saddened by this, he also dedicated himself to monastic life. Terrible things once took place here. Oliver Cromwell killed 5,000 during the rebellion. British soldiers speared the town's inhabitants and threw them into the sea. The small town of New Ross was once an important harbour town, as it was strategically located on the banks of a river that flowed into the sea. However, it couldn't be reached from the sea. Today, the Dunbrody famine lies at anchor here, an authentic reconstruction of a passenger ship dating back to 1845. So over 1 million people left Ireland with the hope of a new life elsewhere. This ship carried emigrants across the Atlantic, and on its return journey it carried timber. A good business for the owner, £3 for each of the ship's 176 passengers. Jerpoint Abbey near Thomastown dates back to the 12th century. It's one of the most beautiful Cistercian ruins in Ireland. The Cistercians built the monastery in characteristic style. One of the stone sarcophagi is said to contain the bones of Holy Nicolas, who was buried here by the Crusaders. Especially interesting is the filigree stone masonry in the arcades. Each column is decorated with its own unique design. An enclosed corridor once connected the cloister to various courtyards and buildings. The monastery was occupied by monks for 4 centuries. Kilkenny is one of the most beautiful towns in Ireland. Since the end of the 12th century, Kilkenny Castle, that is located close to the Nore River, has been the town's most prominent landmark. The city was founded by Saint Canice, who in the 6th century had a monastery built close to the River Nore. Kilkenny is not only famous for its exceptionally well-preserved historic monuments, but also for its local dark beer, Smithwick's, that's exported all over the world. Since the 13th century, the oldest part of the city has been dominated by a mighty cathedral. Kilkenny is rightly called the jewel of the Irish Middle Ages. Numerous important episodes of Irish history have taken place on the Rock of Cashel. Former mighty buildings sit majestically upon a limestone rock. Here kings were crowned and the clergy had its main seat, silent witnesses to the power of kings and medieval bishops. The national sanctuary of Ireland. For centuries, the kings of Munster ruled from here. They constantly competed with the kings of Tara. The fortress later became the seat of the bishop. Ireland's church constitution was created here, and its main features are still valid today. A road with magnificent views, the famous Ring of Beara, travels through a romantic coastal area. And at the beginning of the 19th century was well travelled by the aristocracy. The huge variety of almost subtropical looking flora that is favoured by the Gulf Stream makes this journey a truly splendid experience. The landscape is wild and unspoiled, in every shade of green, and with small rivers and lakes. Here, the meaning of the word paradise has been redefined. This rainbow country flows into the distant horizons of the turbulent Irish Sea. The small town of Killarney has more hotels than anywhere else in Ireland apart from Dublin. It's well worth a visit. The most visited town in Ireland has no sights of its own. It's a starting point for sightseeing and has good facilities. Here, the holiday season lasts throughout the year. Although Killarney has many interesting shops, pubs and fine restaurants, most tourists only stay here for one night. A few narrow lanes with their old houses are reminiscent of the town's peaceful past. And horse carriages transport passengers to nearby Killarney National Park. The Dingle Peninsula in the southwest of Ireland is well known as one of the country's most scenic locations. It's also, though, a region with a fascinating history. In Dingle Town in 1984, a dolphin appeared just off the coast, and it accompanied the fishing boats into the harbour. The peninsula has been inhabited for 6,000 years, so it's hardly surprising that the region is so rich in history. Close to Fachen is a large group of beehive huts, ancient circular buildings that date back to the last ice age. The peninsula is one of Ireland's many treasures. It's been popular for around 20 years or so. The lush green of the surrounding slopes accompanies us on our journey to a legendary pass. Bunratty Castle is close to Limerick and is the most well-preserved medieval fortress in Ireland. It's not a fortress in continental European style, but an imposing three-storey high castle with four corner towers and many well-preserved rooms. It's almost as though its inhabitants still live here. In the past, a nobleman's household contained many servants, and an earl or a clan leader had hundreds of domestic servants. An adjoining historic park gives good insight into life around 1900. A model village depicts a typical scene of daily life. World-famous art historian, collector and archaeologist John Hunt was responsible for this extraordinary open-air museum, the Craganoan Project. The relics of early history look somewhat unspectacular today. The stone altars and burial places within the forests are hardly recognizable. Ring forts were the traditional form of settlement of early Christian times. The most precious exhibit is protected by a glass pyramid. It's the boat in which Holy Brendan travelled from Ireland to North America. Napogue Castle was built in 1467 by Sean McNamara. He was a member of the local alliance of clans that were known as Dalcassians. In the past 500 years, the complex has undergone much transformation. Cromwell's government occupied the castle for some time prior to it being taken over by the McNamaras. Due to financial problems, in 1800, Francis McNamara sold it to a Scottish family. Half a century later, they also suffered from financial difficulties, and in 1855, they sold it to Theobald Fitzwalter Butler. The Andrews from Texas are the present owners. In the village of Quin, between Limerick and Ennis, are the ruins of the Franciscan monastery of Quin Abbey that dates back to 1402. The monks built their monastery within a Norman fortress that had been destroyed in 1286. It was protected by ancient fortress walls. Above all, it is the beautiful cloister and the gravestones of the McNamaras that stand amid the ruins of the church that have made this complex famous. With the introduction of Christianity, the monasteries developed into centres of teaching, education, and the creative arts. The ascetic way of life and a strictly regulated daily regime allowed little freedom. We follow the coast to the 8-kilometre-long Cliffs of Moher and rock strata surrounded by the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. The next section of the coast is more spectacular. Steep rock walls plunge 200 metres to the sea below. Here, the coast is vertical. Over millions of years, the strong westerly winds and powerful surf have gradually gnawed away at this coast. The result is a thing of beauty, warmed by tropical currents and cooled down by the cold of winter. Various pathways lead to a watchtower that provides a fascinating view over the cliffs. Located above the River Shannon is Clonmacnoise, a cultural highlight in this land of saints and scholars. Founded by Holy Kieran in the middle of the 6th century, this monastic settlement soon became an important centre. The impressive remains of 9 churches, 2 circular towers, and numerous high crosses highlight the form and importance of this complex. A place of spiritual meetings, sermons, and above all, prayer. However, the monastery's wealth often caused it to be attacked, until in 1552 Cromwell's soldiers finally turned Clonmacnoise into ashes. West of Tara Hill is the former fortress of the Irish High Kings, Trim Castle. Ireland's largest and most beautiful Norman fortress. Unfortunately, most of it was destroyed due to various battles between Cromwell and the Catholics. The Normans were masters of fortress construction. At first, they used wood, but due to its flammable nature, timber was replaced by stone as the most important building material. Hollywood discovered this spectacular scenery and used it in the film Braveheart. Although much of it has remained unspoiled, Ireland has undergone much change. It's a land of great natural beauty, commercial success, and excellent hospitality. Ireland, a wild green island set in the wild Atlantic Ocean.